How to access your ECM or your car's computer, as well as circuit opening relay in a 96 Lexus ES300. This should apply to 96 through 01 ES300s. Those are all considered third generation. And it's a very similar process in mid to late 90s Camrys, Solaras, and Avalons. I know that because I spent a lot of time at the salvage yard taking those apart, trying to find one of these, a circuit opening relay. You have to take the glove box out to get to those. The way to get the glove box out is open it up. There are 3 Phillips head screws across the top. Those have to come out. Down at the bottom left, there's a screw right there that holds on this piece of trim. That has to come out. To get to the screw on the right, you got to pull this piece of trim down. Now on some of those cars that I mentioned, Camry, Avalon, Solara, this piece of trim right here, you had to pull it off to get to a nut that was behind it. So that might be what you have on the bottom right. 3 10mm nuts behind this trim, those nuts have to come out and then the glove box will come out. Once you get those 2 off on the bottom, just grab this piece of trim and pull straight down. Here are the 3 10mm nuts that are behind that piece of trim on the bottom. Now with those 3 off at the bottom of the door, you should be able to get the door off. This inner liner should pull straight out. But be careful with it because there's some wiring harnesses attached to the back. One for the trunk lock, one for the light. I'm going to leave those wiring harnesses attached and just move it off to the side. With it over here, I have enough room. I have access to my car's computer, the ECM, and the circuit opening relay. It's that green relay right there. You can see right on the front where it says circuit opening relay. That helps to control power to the fuel pump. Now to get that ECM out, 2 Phillips head screws on that bracket right there. And then down below, 2 10mm nuts that hold the ECM to that bracket. But before I do that, before I take the ECM out, I'm going to disconnect the negative battery cable just to be sure I don't short anything out. There are 4 wiring harnesses on the ECM, and I think what I'm going to do is disconnect them first while the ECM is securely mounted. I think I can get more leverage that way. There's a release tab on each harness, so you squeeze in on that tab and it should pull straight out. I got 3 more to do. This last one on the bottom doesn't want to come out. Maybe that's a clue. Maybe there's some corrosion. Oh man, there we go. All right, now we can get those screws loose. Alright, there's one. Alright, this last one's being a pain. I see what it is. I see why that second one was so difficult. That second stud is welded onto this bracket. The first stud is welded onto the body of the car. This one you have to get the nut off, then you have to slide another bracket off of this. That makes the second one, the top one, a little more difficult to get out. But here it is. Here's my ECM. To get the circuit opening relay out, there's a tab right here, a release tab that you would lift up on and then pull straight out. But I've been trying that for a few minutes and it just won't come out unless there's another release tab on the top. But it doesn't feel like there is. So what I'm going to do is take 2 10mm nuts off, and this whole piece, this whole yellow piece, this bracket should drop down, and then I can get a better look at the relay. Taking those 2 10mm nuts off did free up this bracket, so it dropped down. This is definitely a release tab, and that one's broken loose. There may be another release tab down there. I think that's an access hole right there. I can put a flathead screwdriver through there, pry that one up. This one's already loose, and this should pull off. There we go. And there they are. Well, the problem has been solved, but not by a new circuit opening relay from the salvage yard. Apparently it was this. This is what fixed it, but that's a separate video. Now let's put it all back together. Putting it all back together is just a reversal, but make sure you have all your connectors. Putting the computer back in first. Here's the bracket that I mentioned earlier that was kind of a pain to get off. That's the bracket for your cruise control module. You have to work this stud that's on the bracket at the bottom of the computer. You have to work that in behind this bracket. It's got to come through that hole. Has to slide over that stud. And you get the 2 nuts over those studs. Before you tighten those nuts down on the bottom, make sure that you get these holes lined up at the top for the screws that go in. You have to have it lined up exactly perfectly in order for those screws to go in. And for some reason, this one just doesn't want to go. All right, I got it. Now the bracket for the circuit opening relay, and it just fits back over those studs. And I did solve my intermittent stalling problem, which was the reason for taking all this apart. I'm not sure specifically what I did because I didn't replace any parts. I just took out all the relays, fuses, and car's computer and the fuel pump, wiring harnesses, cleaned it all up, put it back together, started it up, and it runs fine. Now the glove box liner can go back in, and be careful with the wiring harnesses. Put those 3 screws back in up top. Now the glove box door and these 2 arms slide through those slots. These 3 10mm nuts across the bottom. I'm not sure what's going on because the door appears to be in the right spot, but the latch is not catching this bar for some reason. What you need to do, take the same hand that you're holding the door with and pull this bar down. It's spring loaded. So pull that down, then you slide the arms through, then you can push it up and it'll latch. And now we should be good, which we are. Don't forget about that little spring-loaded bar. That took me a minute to figure out. Now it's time to put this last piece of trim back up, and there's another piece of trim behind it. Mine did not come all the way down. It's just kind of hanging here. And that piece of trim, that black trim, actually snaps into this piece of trim. 3 spots along the bottom. Make sure this piece, that front piece, slides over the top so that 3 of those connectors can snap through that front piece of trim. Snap it in, and 2 screws to put in, 1 on either side. And we're good. Hang on, we're almost good. I forgot about this piece. I took it off when I was trying to figure out why that door wouldn't latch. Now we're good. I'll put a link right up here top left to the intermittent stalling video. If you watch the video, you'll see all the things involved in supplying power to your fuel pump. And also your circuit opening relay may not be behind here. Check the fuse boxes in your engine compartment first. You may find it there. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching.